The Cardinals carry on. They can take the middle game of this series, just 11 of these slogs to go. And
Slogs is maybe not a bad way to phrase it. Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's 11 more DoorDash orders at 7 o'clock to go, and it is right-hander Michael McGrevy taking the bump. It's actually a rematch of 2 weeks ago, August 30th. Michael McGrevy versus left-hander Andrew Abbott, and the Greavy train won that game. 4-2 ball game, Wilson Contreras and Pedro Pages with home runs. What are you looking forward to the most about that, Schaefer?
I want to continue to see Michael McGreevy. I know people, earlier in the season were frustrated by the fact that he wasn't here. I would make the case, and I did earlier with Joe, that largely the Cardinals have managed like the Miles Michaelis situation, for example, about how they ought to have. They could have been more aggressive, so I'm not, trying to like credit them for it, but I think in terms of like waiting with McGreevy like they did, trying to get through the early portion of the season, it was serviceable until it wasn't. Where they really messed up was several Eric Fetty starts that just never should have happened. And, we said so at the time, and every 5 days we kept saying so until it was over. McGreevy could have had those. My point is, McGreevy's going to end up with like 15 starts and a couple of relief appearances for this team this year. And so we get a very good sample of what it looks like to have Michael McGreevy in this rotation. And boy, is he going to have a chance to kind of reflect upon this year, build upon it, and he's going to be a staple next year. So anytime he's on the mound, frankly, Luke, that's one of the more interesting guys I'm looking to see, because he's one of the very few that you can say with certainty that he's going to be here next year. I'd say Liberatore and McGreevy are the two that you can absolutely lock in, health provided, for this Cardinal rotation in 2026. You mentioned it with Sonny. He's got the no trade, but maybe a little bit more open, another year removed from just having landed basically in St. Louis. I think he wanted to get through this season and put in the time to, kind of integrate into this clubhouse. But now that the Cardinals are clearly where they're at, maybe that final year of the contract, he's willing to go elsewhere, and maybe the Cardinals decide they can get something for him and maybe save a buck or two. With Palante, obviously we have no idea with just his performance if the Cardinals are going to be penciling him into the starting five next year, and Michaelis is out the door. So, yes, McGreevy is one of those guys that you feel pretty good about. He's going to be here, and trying to look for kind of things to look forward to, seeing how McGreevy looks and how he can finish strong to then maybe go into a big campaign for him where he knows on opening day he's going to be in that starting five. And, Cardinals fans are hoping Michael McGreevy is in the rotation the next time this team's in the playoffs. It might not be next year, might be a couple of years down the road, but this is kind of the start for him of hopefully being a mainstay for the Cardinals in that rotation.
He's definitely been a bulldog and a nice spot at times this season. One note that we forgot to mention: when the Cardinals do rally in the bottom of the seventh, 2 outs, Brendan Donovan with an RBI single against right-hander Tony Santillan, and Ivan Herrera as well with an RBI single. The bases are loaded with 2 outs after Alec Burleson is hit by a pitch. Wilson Contreras' place is up, and he is substituted out for Nolan Gorman. It was announced on the broadcast that was due to right biceps tightness for Wilson Contreras. Yeah. So that is a school of Tyler O'Neill injury. That is something to look out for as the season wraps up. Starting first baseman perhaps out of the lineup and could affect the way that they approach the final couple weeks of the season.
Yeah, and look, at this point, a hangnail is a reason enough to keep some guys out of the lineup. Now, that is not applicable to Wilson Contreras, who, certainly I think if he's available to be in there, he would want to be in there. And frankly, maybe the Cardinals win this game. That could have been the money moment, is the fact that, unfortunately for the Cardinals, Wilson was injured, and they end up going to Gorman, who didn't come through, grounded out to second, I believe it was. And Contreras, already had a good night brewing and potentially would have been able to really change the outcome of that game with a bases-loaded situation. So you hope it's not anything that does cost him the rest of the season. I think any Cardinals fans that are planning to still go down to Busch Stadium for the final week of the regular season in terms of the home games, and the weekend is really that opportunity against the Brewers, that's one of the guys you want to see. You want to see Donnie, you want to see Contreras, and that's really all that's left is all right, I won't get to see any of these guys until March or April, and some of them I may never see again. So I might take the family down one more time. There's really nothing else to sell at this point, unfortunately. It could have been a different story, but this is the one that they're telling, and you trade all your bullpen guys at the deadline, and you end up feeling like, well, we've got these guys that really got you through August and early September, made it look like things were going pretty swimmingly. But then the next crop of guys, like the downstream effect of that, instead of Riley and Swanson and Leahy sort of being the second string to your Helsley and your Maton, those guys are thrust into the big roles, and then you got Chris Roycroft and Ryan Fernandez pitching in games. I know people are frustrated about that. I don't have an issue with it. Those guys have to pitch this year so that you can learn what you have to learn about them, which is maybe don't count on them for the 26-man roster in the bullpen next year. I mean, that's part of the conversation as well. And unfortunately, for a team that's handful of games below 500, you end up sort of having to accept the lumps with that, and use it as a proving ground. It hasn't been what has been proven, Luke, has not been favorable though for some of those fellas.
It hasn't. I was talking with Randy on Saturday that this last homestand that fans might come down, see Miles Michaelis pitch, see he can go 5 solid innings, kind of golf clap him off the field in his final game.
Oh, at home? At home, he'll go 6, buddy. I mean, it's gonna be big stuff.
Yeah, and throw a quality start and just reflect on the good times, the 18-win season, say thank you for your service and go on your merry way. And Randy just responded, looked dead in the camera, was like, I don't think that's going to happen, Luke. I really don't. Final thoughts as we wrap up this 11-6 loss to the Cincinnati Reds here on Monday.
Yeah, and guys, I know sometimes people say, well, why don't they show the comments? Most of it has just been complaining, which is fair. It's just not super pertinent to like the breakdown of the game. So I try to scroll through and find as many as I can. I want to address this from Aaron. He said, still waiting to hear an apology from DeWitt III for laughing at the fans for not showing up. I feel like that has, but I don't know if there was like some formal apology, but he has addressed that and said, probably could have phrased it better. Here's what I meant to say. The Cardinals ownership group is going to have to grapple with the fact that the downward spiral of attendance will continue until, the product is something that is worth supporting from Cardinals fans. And that is not the fault of Cardinals fans. Right. Like, and Randy and I on Randy's show go back and forth on this oftentimes because he would say, there's no business in the world that would, operate in a way that if they weren't making enough revenues to put money into the business, they're going to take the owner's money out of their pocket and just, pour it in. That's just not the way businesses are run. While I agree with that, you also have to acknowledge that the fans are not obligated to support the business. If the business is not, putting out a product that's worth consuming and paying for in whatever capacity that looks like, television contracts, if people want to buy the app that you get to watch all the games over the top, over the counter, however they call it now, with the new the new FanDuel service, or if you want to buy tickets to go to the ball game and concessions and everything that goes on along with that has to be earned. I think what I will tell Cardinals fans in this chat, and look, you can believe me, you can disagree with me and say it's not real. I do think that the ownership has had to learn some lessons and take their lumps. They maybe didn't apologize in the way that you wanted them to in the end of season press conference last year. And as far as I saw a comment asking about the presser for this year, I have no idea. I assume there will be one after the season because Chaim Bloom's got a lot to talk about. We haven't heard from him. And the next time they have a press conference, Chaim Bloom's sitting in the big chair and John Mozeliak is nowhere to be found. That is the way that Cardinals fans have wanted it for a while. And that's what's happening, right? He's, Mo's not, I don't think there's going to be a send-off press conference for John Mozeliak. I would be surprised by that. So they're going to be moving forward. You got something there?
He'll be asking for a little bit of patience if there is.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit more patience. There's a comment from Vinny Barbarino in the chat dated at 10:09. I don't know if we can show it, but it is verbatim what CBS told me last year because I'm pretty sure that's them in disguise. This fella sounds like he could put a person on Feel Good Hit of the Summer by Queens of the Stone Age to sleep. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I'll just put it on there so everybody knows what we're doing. We don't have to beat around the bush. Who's putting the person on coke to sleep? Maybe it's both of us. I don't know, but that's okay.
It's me.
I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it. The folks are unhappy. What I will say, the front office, I do believe that's coming in, is going to be very eager to prove, and not just that, like, it's going to feel different. The messaging that y'all have complained about for a long time, I believe, if you don't believe me now, let's reconvene in like 4 months or like when we get to spring training and let me know if you feel different about hearing Chaim Bloom talk about this team versus Mo. I feel like if nothing else, they're at least going to recognize there's been sort of a malaise in the way that the messaging from the org to its fan base has happened. And I think this next group, from what I am told, they're eager to kind of correct that and allow that to look something refresh, something different.